This is the first generation model of the Maruti Suzuki Alto, the largest selling car in India. It has been for almost 2 decades. This particular model, for almost a decade. To put things in perspective, there are near about 4 million Altos sold in India till date. Now let that sink in. This is the first gen Alto and it was sold in India between 2000 to 2012. It received several facelifts throughout its course and it was eventually replaced by the second gen Alto. The Alto is not only extremely popular among the new car buyers, but it has an incredible demand in the pre-owned car market. Don't believe me? Well, check out any of the local listings of pre-owned cars and see for yourselves. So what is it that makes the Alto so popular? Keep watching as I investigate. The Alto looks quite simple from whichever angle you look at it, but it does look pretty good from every single angle. It seems like an evolution of the Maruti 800 and that's what it essentially is. It gets really tiny 12-inch rims and the tire profile is 145/80 R12s. The wheel cap that you see here are aftermarket. The Alto sits quite low and the ground clearance isn't very generous either. Even when you compare it to the second generation model, it's only 160 mm. Let me quickly show you the boot, but before that you'll notice parking sensors over here. It's because my parents used to drive this car and I wanted to make it easier for them to park it at tight spots. I've myself found it quite useful because parking sensors help regardless of the size of the car. Anyway, to access the boot, you'll have to use the key to open the tailgate because that's the only way you can open the tailgate. And once you're here, there's a lot of stuff lying over here. There's a Mountain Dew bottle, there's duster, horn tube that's no longer in use, lots of stuff over here. The spare wheel is over here, but you can see this, it's difficult to open this. Ow, sorry, ow, I just hurt my head. Ow, ow, anyway, the spare wheel is not an alloy and that's obvious, but my head hurts. Ow, ow. Ground clearance is not the only thing that the first generation Alto does not provide generously. The space isn't very generous either. But let's get inside and check out how much there is that this Alto offers. Well, as you can see, there's not a lot of space over here. Only a laptop bag could hardly fit in the space between the driver's seat and the passenger seat. So yeah, the space is not very good over here. I'm gonna try and get in. Okay. There is... Okay, this is very uncomfortable because this has been pushed pretty much all the way back, I think. Yeah, this is not very comfortable. I can barely fit in. My height for reference is 5'9". Yeah, so I had to go to the front passenger seat and move the seat a little ahead, little in the front because it had absolutely no room for me. Now that it's pushed a little in the front, there is just about enough knee room, very little leg room, and it's not really a very comfortable space to be in. If your height is anywhere under 5'5", 5'6", I think even 5'7" you'll be fine, but anything above that is going to be a problem. I'm 5'9", and yeah, this is not very comfortable. For anyone who's above 5'10", I don't think you can even fit in over here. Pretty much everyone in our country has seen this car at least 1 million times because there are literally millions of them on the roads. So I don't want to talk much about the looks, and let's go check out the engine bay. This is the engine bay, and as you can see and hear, it does make some noise because it's a 3-cylinder 800cc motor that produces about 46 bhp of power and 63 Nm of torque. I've shared all the basic details that you need to know about the Alto's exteriors, the interiors. There's not much to talk about in terms of features and practicality because it's very basic. You have a couple of door pockets, but you can't fit in any water bottles, nothing. You can just keep in some papers maybe, but that's about it. And the features, you just have a basic head unit, power steering, and that's about it. Nothing special over here, nothing that I can think of at least. So let's just get going. The moment you start the car, the first thing that you'll notice is that it vibrates quite a bit. You know it's a 3-cylinder motor. It does get quite loud, doesn't it? Now, if you've ever driven a car with an 800cc motor, you'd know that it does not feel very powerful because honestly, there isn't much power. It's only 46 horses over here and 63 Newton meters of torque. But you may not believe me when I say this, this car actually feels quite peppy to drive, especially when you compare it to the Renault Kwid and the Hyundai Eon. This car does feel quite peppy and It's surprisingly fun to drive. I'm gonna launch the car once just to show you how peppy this engine is. Wheel spin, wow. That was intense. So it does feel quite peppy. You won't believe it. You have to drive this engine to know how much fun it is to drive this. It's a small car. It's not fun in the way, you know, say a Ford EcoSport or your Swift or your Honda City is fun to drive. But it's more like, you know, okay, just hold on for a minute. We'll just get to the ride because we are at it. The ride does not feel very good because, you know, it's a small car, the wheels are small, the side wall of the tire is small, so you see everything like seeps into the cabin. So you can't expect much because it's a small car. It is doing what it's supposed to do. See. Anyway, getting back to the engine, it does not feel fun like say your Honda City or your Ford EcoSport Freestyle or any of these cars. It's fun in the way that you are pushing this car to the limits, like, you know, its limit is 90 to 100 kilometers per hour. There are people who go faster than that, but I would not recommend that because it is not meant to do such high speeds. It is a good city car and that's about it. On the highways you need to know your limitations. I'll get to that later, but yeah, it does not feel fun in that way. It's just that you push the car to its limits and, you know, it's the most this car is doing right now, and it feels fun for some reason. I don't know why. And believe it or not, it comes with NOS. Yeah, it does. Now suppose you're on the road, you're going really fast, you're racing someone, that someone is racing you, you're racing him, he's racing you, and you know it's going back and forth, and then suddenly you need this move on. What do? You use the NOS. How do you use the NOS? You're going fast, really fast, really fast. You downshift, and you're going really fast, and then you turn off the AC and you're like, the NOS is on right now. It stays on till you keep the AC off. It's on. It's still on. It's still on. Now the NOS is off because I turned on the AC. Sorry about these bad jokes. I don't know when I'm gonna stop doing those. The camera has been moving all over the place because the ride is that bad. Anyway, I haven't changed much in the car. It's pretty much in its stock condition. The only things that I've changed here are the horns and the headlights. Those are 190 because the original ones were pretty much hopeless. And what else is new here? The steering cover, that's pretty much it. Yeah, the reverse parking sensors as well. Now getting back to the drive, this has become my favorite city car because it's nimble, it's got a tiny footprint, so you can put it in any corners that you like, and it's very reliable, fuel efficient. It returns about 16 to 17 kilometers in the city, sometimes even 18, 19. On the highways I get up to about 21, 22. So it is a very fuel efficient car. The handling of this car is alright, just about does its job, just like everything else about this car. For example, the steering wheel. It is kind of weird because at lower speeds it feels heavy, not heavy as such, more like stiff because it's hydraulic power steering, and once you cross like 90-100 kilometers per hour, it feels like it's disconnected from the ground. You shouldn't be going beyond that speed in this car anyway, but yeah, once you cross a certain speed it feels kind of disconnected from the ground. Till about 60-70 kilometers per hour it does give you decent feel and feedback, so that's a good thing. The brakes, just like most Marutis, not the best. The stopping power is not that great. See, it takes some time to slow down. Ow. And the bite is also not very confidence inspiring as such. As we spoke about earlier, the ride of this car is not that great. You can feel every little pothole, literally every little thing creeping into the cabin. And again, that's because it's a tiny car, small wheels, small sidewalls. All of these things contribute to the ride not being that great. So I'm sure you have realized this by now. This car just about does its job. Nothing about this car will blow your mind. Everything is alright. So why is it that it sells so much? And I mean both the generations. The first generation sold a lot. The second generation, I mean the current generation, sells a lot. It sells like hot pancakes. And again, it's due to Maruti Suzuki's reliability, cost of ownership. Everything really leads to this car selling so much that it's almost mind-boggling. over 20,000 units every month for almost a decade. It's insane. There are a lot of concerns regarding the safety of the Alto, and that's primarily because this is not considered as one of the better built cars. But then that's obvious because it's built to a cost. And safety as in what? What you need to understand is, who are the people who buy the Alto? A lot of them are first-time car buyers, or people like me who use this as a secondary car, mostly for the city use and those occasional highway runs. A lot of them are upgrading from a two-wheeler. So what would you say? Are you telling me that the Alto is less safe than a two-wheeler? I would argue that an Alto without any safety kit whatsoever is safe, even when you don't wear a seat belt, is safer than the safest of two-wheelers out there. It's also very important to know the limitations of the car that you're driving. I've seen people do 130 kilometers per hour, 140 kilometers on the Wagonars and Altos and such cars because they can. Yeah, you can go 120, 130 in this car, but you should not, because these cars are not meant to do such speeds. They're not built for that, and it's obviously not safe. And when something goes wrong, you blame the company. People say that, oh, it's a tin can, it's this, it's that. It does not really make sense, because you pay a certain amount for a car and you get a car for that amount only, and you're supposed to be driving in your limitations. So the car is fine. It's not like it's built like a tank. It is not. You're not paying for a tank, so you won't get a tank. But for what you pay, you get your money's worth. I hope that really addresses all the safety concerns that people have regarding the Alto. It's a safe car if you drive in its limitations, if you know you should not be pushing it too hard, if you know that the tires are only 12 inches, if you know that it's a Maruti Suzuki Alto and not a Jeep Wrangler or any of these off-roading SUVs. And that's not really rocket science, is it? I'm stuck in Bangalore traffic, but finally getting a move on. Now, to answer the all-important question, should you buy a pre-owned Alto, the first generation one? You can buy only the pre-owned one because now on sale is a second generation model. Well, it depends whether you should buy one or not. If you're looking for a car that is very inexpensive to maintain, that is quite easy to maintain, a car that can be fixed by literally any mechanic in the city, then this is a car that you should go for. And more so if mileage is important to you. So all of these things, especially the cost of ownership, is important to you. Well, this is a perfect car for you. But if you're looking for something that you're going to be driving on the highways a lot, if you're going to be touching speeds of 110, 120 very often, this car is not for you. This was my review of the first generation Maruti Suzuki Alto. If you like the video, do hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel. It's called DESIgnition. I mean, you're here, just the button is down there. That's all from me now. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.